Now, when 15-year-old schoolgirl Holly Newton was stalked and murdered by her ex-boyfriend, her parents had noticed signs of coercive control and raised concerns over his behaviour.
But currently, the abuser and the victim have to be over the age of 16 for the crime to be considered domestic abuse, something Holly's mum, Micala, and stepdad Lee are campaigning to change.
Well, we'll be talking to them about that in just a moment. But first, here's Fran Lanuri with a reminder of Holly's story.
Holly Newton loved to dance. She was just 15 when she was brutally murdered. The schoolgirl's final moments were captured on CCTV. This footage shows Holly speaking to her ex-boyfriend at a bus stop in Hexham before he lured her into an alleyway and stabbed her 36 times. Logan MacPhail was 16 and attacked Holly with such force the knife he used snapped.
You do not have to say anything with me on your defence.
At the time of his arrest, MacPhail suggested what happened was Holly's fault.
You've been too horrible to me.
According to her family, she had ended their 18-month relationship after realising he was controlling her. And for an hour before her murder, MacPhail stalked Holly as she walked around the town. Holly's mum had been so concerned about MacPhail's obsessive behaviour following the breakup, she had arranged to meet with police that day. But tragically, Holly begged her mum to let her meet her friends after school, and the meeting was pushed back. Logan MacPhail was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life with a minimum of 17 years. But because Holly was only 15, she's not recognised as a victim of domestic abuse. Currently, victims and perpetrators must be over 16, a law her family is campaigning to change.
Well, Holly's mum, Micala, and stepdad Lee join us now. Thank you so much for coming in. It's a really important campaign. Just how are you doing right now? You lost Holly in January last year. How are you dealing with being without her?
Some days seem impossible, to be honest. But yeah, we just have to get up and do the best we can each day. We've got 3 other children that need us, so that's what helps us get up every morning.
She looks amazing there in that footage. So full of life, you know.
Yeah,
and confidence.
she was. Yeah.
Can you just describe her to us?
She had so much energy. She loved doing her dancing. She was just happy and, you know, really caring. She really cared for people. She was just a really, really lovely girl.
What did she want to do when she grew up?
She wanted to be a dance teacher.
She wanted to be a dance teacher?
Yeah.
Did you have concerns about her relationship with Logan from the beginning, or did it emerge as the relationship developed that you thought this isn't right?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I think, you know, it was concerns because they were both quite young.
Yeah.
But nothing out of the ordinary at first. It wasn't until about a week or so before she was murdered that we had our concerns.
Based on what?
We realised that Holly was being controlled, so he made comments about not wanting her to go out with her friends. Right. You know, he was messaging Holly's sibling. He needed to know where she was she in her bedroom, who was she with.
Classic controlling behaviour.
Yeah.
And you discussed that with her, did you?
Yes, we did, yeah. And Holly had been trying to break off the relationship for some time before. But that's when we found out that he'd been making threats to kill himself if she was to do that.
See, this is all part of a pattern of domestic abuse, isn't it? I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it's just classic.
Classic, exactly. All the traits.
If it had been recognised as domestic abuse and it couldn't officially be recognised because Holly wasn't 16, what could have been brought into place that might have supported you in helping her? Or is it that if it was recognised as domestic abuse, now you'd be able to say to the agencies, you need to do something to protect others? Could you have done more? Could the police have done more if you were able to say, this isn't just a teenage relationship, this is actually coercive, controlling behaviour, domestic abuse, and you need to treat it like that?
Yeah. So I think if it had been recognised as domestic abuse, Holly could have, you know, she would have been educated on the signs more. When they're educating children in school. They're not educating on the signs of a unhealthy relationship, you know, between girlfriend and boyfriend.
Because it's considered an adult thing, an over 16 problem, not an under 16 problem.
So when this happened, she would have had a domestic homicide review. She didn't get that because it went down as knife crime. It wasn't domestic abuse.
And of course, it means that if it is being treated in this way, it means that the different agencies they all talk to each other, and that was part of the problem, wasn't it, Lee? That he was under one council, Holly was under another, and the two councils and the education authorities weren't communicating about this problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If the two councils spoke to each other like they should have, there could have been a possibility that the councils then got in touch with Holly's school and said, look,
we've got a problem here.
We've got a problem. Yeah. We need to do X, Y and Z. But because he's Gateshead and we were Northumberland and the two councils don't talk, none of the information was passed across.
If the change that you're campaigning for had actually been in place, I mean, the straight question is, do you think Holly might still be alive today?
We'll never know that for sure, to be honest. Obviously, adults, this happens to adults, and every day this happens to women. I think the point is that she could have sourced the help earlier. So, you know, there is that possibility that she could have got out of that relationship earlier if she'd had the support.
You had sought help, though, hadn't you? You knew that there was something that police needed to be concerned about.
Yes, but, you know, it was all too late, unfortunately. You know, it wasn't until the night before when he was up at our house, that's when I phoned the police the next morning.
What was he doing, just standing around outside?
So he turned up at about, what time was it? Like, I don't know, 5 p.m-ish. He got picked up in the morning at 1 o'clock in the morning by the police.
What was he doing, like pacing up and down? Sort of?
Trying to get into the house.
Really?
Yeah, he'd been messaging Holly's sibling, asking him to open the window, come down and open the door. Luckily, my son's sensible enough not to have done that. We didn't know anything about that. We were in bed.
Right, I see.
So, yeah, that was...
And it was the next day?
Next day.
So it was early in the morning when I'd rang the police, yes.
But then it was shortly after that actually he...
Yeah. But none of us expected that to happen. We knew his behaviour wasn't normal, but nobody expected him to go and do that. If anything, we were more concerned that he would do it to himself because he threatened that.
Yes.
I find this... So I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt, but you know that Queen Camilla has done a documentary about abuse. In fact, it went out last night. And when I was watching it, these are classic signs now, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
The threats to kill himself, the hanging around, the asking for where you are, you know, contacting other members of the family, trying to control. There's a kind of spectrum.
Yes.
And as you say, if it had been recognised as these are the signs of domestic abuse, these aren't just teenage interactions, then you could have been better prepared.
Yes.
To step in, perhaps to phone the police again and say, no, we need to, you know, this isn't just you pick him up and take him home. This is you know, enact something which is going to protect my daughter.
Well, you would have got expert advice, wouldn't you? That's the point. I mean, you were sort of feeling your way on this. As you say, you didn't even suspect that this was anything like this was going to happen.
But how quick...
But experts could have looked at it and said, actually, this is quite a dangerous scenario.
Yeah.
And stepped in. Can I ask you this? What was the last conversation you had with your lovely girl? Can you remember?
She'd rang me about 20 minutes before she was murdered. She didn't know he was there in Hexham. And she said, oh, what time do I need to be home? And I said, oh, well, you need to be, you know, home by 6 because the police are coming out. And she said, yeah, OK, no problem. That was the last conversation.
And how did she sound?
Absolutely fine. And now we know that she didn't even know he was there then. And she was absolutely fine.
The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says she'll look into this. Are you confident that you can establish a change?
Yes, I think we can, yeah.
Well, you've got a cast-iron case.
Yeah.
And you've made it here.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that just telling other parents about what to look out for is going to be so empowering.
Yeah, well, children you know, education establishments and parents need more education on this.
Thank you so much, both of you, Micala and Lee. Really appreciate it. Lots of love. Thank you very much indeed. If you're affected by that issue, you can find help, itv.com/helplines.